Explosions over Tehran, missile inceptions across the Gulf, and emergency diplomacy from Paris to Moscow. What began as US-Israeli strikes that killed Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, has evolved into a broader geopolitical confrontation, one that is exposing deep global fault lines. US President Donald Trump says the campaign will continue until American objectives are achieved.
Combat operations continue at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more.
Washington maintains the operation is aimed at preventing Iran from developing a nuclear weapon, but Tehran rejects that framing. Iran's security chief Ali Larijani posted on social media, "We will not negotiate with the United States." At the same time, Iran's foreign minister insists diplomacy was never off the table.
Iran has been always open to diplomacy. What we are doing is, in fact, an act of self-defense and retaliation to the American aggression against us.
That contradiction between confrontation and negotiation now defines the political impasse. France says the strikes should have been debated at the United Nations Security Council before the force was used. He says it is only going before the Security Council that the use of force can acquire the necessary legitimacy. Russia has described the attacks as outright aggression while maintaining dialogue with Gulf states caught in the crossfire. He says, "We are in constant contact with Iran's leadership and continue dialogue with the states affected by the conflict." The United Kingdom has taken a middle position, refusing joint offensive strikes, but allowing the US to use British bases for what it calls defensive action.
We were not involved in the initial strikes on Iran, and we will not join offensive action now. But Iran is pursuing a scorched earth strategy, so we are supporting the collective self-defense of our allies and our people in the region, because that is our duty to the British people.
Analysts say the longer the conflict drags on and the higher the casualties, the harder it will become for Washington to sustain political support at home.
If we start to see very quickly U.S. casualty numbers ticking up, if we start to see the Iranians having greater and greater success and no real indication that the regime is splintering or factions are forming, or that the U.S. and Israel have sufficiently undermined it, in other words, that in the end of the day, it's still going to remain in place, then I think very quickly you're going to see the American people question what we're doing here. And especially Republicans and independents say, this isn't what President Trump promised.
The crisis follows months of failed negotiations in Oman, Geneva, and Vienna, talks that appeared to show progress before collapsing into open conflict. Now, with regional oil routes under threat and missile strikes reaching Gulf allies, fears of widening destabilization are mounting. Lebanese experts warn that erosion of diplomatic norms could have global consequences. He says, "We are confronting a major threat to international peace and security, a real danger to everything established after World War II." For now, positions remain entrenched. Washington insists its actions are necessary and lawful. Tehran frames its retaliation as survival. Europe calls for legitimacy through multilateral institutions. And major powers are recalibrating alliances in real time. Whether this moment becomes a short, contained confrontation or the beginning of a longer geopolitical rapture, that may depend less on missiles and more on whether diplomacy can reclaim the ground it has lost. I'm Bakali Pile, SABC News.